I'm Benjamin Marra. I'm originally I grew up in the States, but I live in Montreal, Canada right now. I guess I'm known a lot, mostly for my comic book work, Night Business, Terror Assaulter, What. It's all just sort of genre fiction, exploitation, sort of satire comics, homage comics to like 1980s action films. Yeah, a few years ago, I was nominated for a Grammy for an album cover that I did for the Numero Group, who does incredible reissues of old, obscure collections of music. I've done several like comics for Czarface, and I've done a couple of album covers uh, and some like limited edition stuff for them, which has all been a blast. Been doing comics for like 15 years, maybe a little bit more, and then illustration I've been doing for almost 25 years, which is crazy to think about. The secret to maintaining a creative life, I guess, would be to never stop learning and always be seeking new new things, new sources of inspiration. Our comics is usually a comic done in the 1980s during the black and white boom, and it's usually done by teenagers or people who are in their very early 20s who are super inspired to make comics, but they don't necessarily have the most refined skill set. But that lack of refinement gives their work a endearing quality that is more interesting to me than comics that are really super professionally made. So power comics generally are they're almost like a folk art version of like superhero comics, and I think that they're incredibly inspiring. So I got linked to the power comics guys because Evan Husney and I connected on Instagram talking about these things, and we wanted to talk about them to a larger audience. So we started a YouTube channel that lasted for a while. We haven't really updated it regularly in a while, however, but we talked about a lot of the comics that have really moved us the most. So be sure to check it out on YouTube. You'd have to. It's tough because there's a few, but probably the ultimate comic is Jontar, which is like this street barbarian, kind of like Conan in modern times, wearing biker leathers. Yeah, he's a male stripper and sanitation worker who gets transformed into a magical barbarian by an elf that he finds in a trash can. Lance Stanton is very, very good. That is a very, very good power comic for sure. Another great one is Dreamweaver. That's a really good one. The Protectors, which I really like. It's like NYC Comics, I think, put it out. It's hard to say, but I like. I'm really partial to giallo films. So the one that really kicked it off for me was Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. But I also like Strip Nude for Your Killer. Most of these are starring Edwige Fenech. And then as far as like American like action movies, I really love Death Wish 3 and like Invasion USA. All like pretty much anything done by like Canon Films was like is like okay by me. But Death Wish 3 is really like the apex of like insanity to me. When Bronson like rocket launches the gang leader out the window, it's like an unbelievably satisfying and ridiculous moment in film history. A lot of the things I'm working on right now I can't talk about, but you can find my current daily comic, what we mean by yesterday, on my Patreon. What we mean by yesterday Patreon, and that's about to kick off a new year on my Instagram too, which is where its origination took place. Um, so yeah, check out my daily comic, and then go check out my books. What We Mean by Yesterday, Volume 1 is out now. Yes, over at Exalted Funeral, you can find Intermediary Mund, which is a art book slash setting source book slash campaign journal. It's sort of like a collection of illustrations for a Dungeon Crawl Classics campaign that I ran many years ago. But it also has all the stat blocks for all the monsters and items, as well as stat blocks in DCC, RPG, and OSE. Cover I illustrated for the new edition of Stay Frosty, which is, I believe, called Stay Frosty Remastered, and it's going to be out next year from the Melsonian Arts Council, who also brought you Troika and all of the Troika books. They do amazing, beautiful production, so I anticipate the Stay Frosty book being incredibly beautiful as a book. The backer kit has concluded, but it was successful. So we should be seeing the print editions of the new version of Stay Frosty coming out soon. And it's a overlooked game that is a gem and deserves to be more widely known about and played. I talked about this quite a bit. I never got to play RPGs as a kid because Satanic Panic prevented me from experiencing them fully. So they always sort of carried this power in my mind, and the idea of playing them was always something that I was interested in, even though I never really got to fully play an RPG until I was much older, like 30 or something like that. And that's when I realized that if I was going to play RPGs, I would need to become the DM and learn all the systems and everything like that. So I went, and this was right around the time that the OSR was really like kicking off, like 2007. And so I bought like all the original D&D books, and I didn't know the OSR was going on. I didn't know about the OGL or anything like that. But that's when like Labyrinth Lord and like Swords and Wizardry, that's when they started really coming out. But I got into the first edition AD&D, and then I also got into Burning Wheel. I bought all the Burning Wheel books. So I was reading all those on the subway when I was living in New York, and I was just getting all my friends to play with me because they played when they were younger, but they had no interest in DMing. So I had to be a DM, and so then I just became like kind of a forever DM. So I've been DMing ever since then. Now I'm playing Barbarians of Lemuria, and I'm playing like a basic fantasy, like first edition or basic edition D&D campaign with some people who have never played D&D before. So I wanted to give them the old school experience. And but I've also played recently Stay Frosty, played a campaign of that, which was fun. And then that's about it. On my own, I sort of do like a very loose kind of like FKR style solo game, 2D6 kind of thing. I mean, I've known Tony a long time, and we were tabled next to each other at a comic convention. I think it was like Comic Arts Brooklyn, and I think it might have been the first ever Comic Arts Brooklyn, if not the first, then the second. Um, we were both living in New York at the time. Then I moved to Canada, and he started dabbling with some like Mystic Punks Twine sort of online, uh, sort of choose your own adventure, or choice based gaming. And I did some illustrations for one of the first iterations, I think, of the game before it became like a full on role playing game. It was called Gray Flowers then. You're right. So yeah, I worked with him on that, and then he pulled me in when it mutated into Mystic Punks, and I've done a bunch of interior illustrations for the new book as well as the cover art. Get my D6s out. Okay, 3D6, here we go. 6. Ability. 7. I'm gonna have to toss this one. All right, come on. Oh, this is 8. Mm-hmm. Okay. 5. All right, here we go. 11. 4. I'm gonna do 4. All right. 1. 22. Oh my God, I'm rolling so low. Perfect. 15.
All right.
Oh man. I think either he's gonna have like just like a t-shirt for armor, weak and wimpy.
Yeah.
Or he's gonna be like the opposite. He's gonna have like spray painted some like trash cans and like made like a DIY kind of like suit of like armor, so he looks like, I don't know, just like a Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome dude. It's gonna be like, yeah, maybe his soulbound weapon is like a I was gonna say it's got to be like some sort of like ranged thing, because he's kind of he wouldn't be like up close and personal with anything. So it could be like, I think it could be like a dog. Yeah, the no name. He's yeah, because like he's I always just use name generators, so I don't have to pick up this stuff. How about this? He doesn't work for the yearbook unless there was like a girl he liked that was there, or a boy, I guess. Yeah. Or maybe it could be like, I don't know if your high school had this, but mine did. It was like an arts publication where they published like poetry and like drawings and like writings, like fiction and stuff like that. God, I can't remember what ours was called, but it was pretty awesome. Yeah, my website is benjaminmarra.com, and then you can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky and Facebook. It's all just Benjamin Marra. I'm pretty much on all social platforms like that, but I'm also on Patreon, so if you want to give me some support there, that would be great. I post some behind the scenes stuff that doesn't appear anywhere else. It's all exclusive to my Patreon page. As well as just like essays and writings and things that I'm sort of thinking about, and movies I'm watching, books I'm reading, role-playing games I'm playing. But it's mostly just like behind the scenes art process pieces, like writing about sort of what my thought process is.